1st of June 2023. We are counting down to the end of 2023, and of course, we are glad to be in the middle of the year. This is a breakfast show on Camnet TV that comes to your screen every morning, where we discuss a lot of important aspects and issues happening in our country. Of course, today's Thursday edition, I will be your host, Prudence Chota. I'm joined by my colleague who will be joining me on set, as soon as possible. So this is a breakfast show, and we'll be discussing something very important. We are expecting a very important guest in studio today, and of course, it is the first time that we'll be featuring him on the Camnet TV breakfast show, but we hope we are going to have an interaction session where you watching us there in the comfort of your home, on your gadgets or on different platforms, can just call us, make those contributions and submissions with regards to what we will be discussing. So before I preempt myself by saying too much, which I might end up giving my opinion, which is actually not needed at this point, because we need to speak factual issues. Yes, of course. So let's go into the health corner and see what the doctor has for us today. Dr. Fire, remember, you can follow her on Facebook and on YouTube. She's got a YouTube channel. And then if you've got a particular topic that you'd like the doctor to discuss, you can just send us a message or leave her a message on our Facebook page or on YouTube. So right about now, let's go into the health corner and see what the doctor has for us this morning.
Hi, I'm glad that you could join us today on the breakfast show on the Health Corner, as we are talking about asthma. This week we've been talking about asthma, and we say that asthma is a chronic inflammatory disease that affects the airways, and usually it causes a hyperresponsiveness in the airways that usually leads to somebody having shortness of breath, difficulties breathing, and also having this chest tightness in the chest, and sometimes they would have a cough that would be progressive, so it comes about suddenly. And the other thing is that they would have a wheezing sound when they are breathing, when they're having the asthmatic attack. So today we'll talk about diagnosis and treatment. Usually in the hospital, asthma is diagnosed clinically. By that, we mean that just by hearing the patient, from the patient, how the symptoms began, and also listening to the chest of the patient, we'll be able to assess to say somebody is in an asthmatic attack. And this is followed by treatment, very aggressive treatment, to try and relieve the patient from the asthmatic attack that they are in. So usually there are some medications that I use to treat the asthmatic attack in that moment, and these are medications that can be either mostly we use inhalers. So would use some inhalers that the patient will be able to use in that moment and relieve the airways. So relieve the blockages in the airways and the narrowing of the airways. So we use some inhalers that contain certain medications that are used to treat the asthma. So we have certain medications such as salbutamol, which usually is prescribed in the hospital, and this is a common medication for asthmatic patients who need to be put on this inhaler so that they can be able to relieve their symptoms as quickly as possible. So patients who have asthma will need to go home when they're out of the asthmatic attack. Then they can be sent home on the inhaler. So the inhaler can be used at any point when they're having the asthmatic attack. Other times there are patients who have very severe asthma, and in these patients they would probably need certain other medications such as steroids that would help to relieve them from the symptoms that they are feeling. Now, these steroids are not to be taken for a very prolonged period, so it's only for a short period of time and then you stop. These are not used. These are not to be used for a very long time because they have very bad side effects. They have side effects that are not good for the body, and so we try to minimize the use of these steroids. But if it's a patient who has asthma and they need to be we need to prevent them from having these asthmatic attacks very often, then we'll put them on some steroids as well. So those are some of the medications that are used to treat asthma. There are other medications as well that are not so common in our country or in our setting, but they can also be found in certain pharmacies and certain hospitals as well. So if you have any other questions, if you need to know more about asthma, you can reach out to me on Facebook at Dr. Nakubyanamfire. And if you want to watch any of the other videos, you can watch them on YouTube at Dr. Nakubyanamfire. Make sure you watch tomorrow again, as we'll be talking about how you can prevent yourself from getting an asthmatic attack. And also invite your friends and your family as well. I'll see you again tomorrow. Stay blessed and stay healthy.
There you have it. That was Dr. Mufaya talking to us this morning about that particular topic. I hope we have learned one or two things from what she said. But remember, you can keep listening to Dr. Mufaya every morning on Camnet TV from Monday to Friday, where she discusses these important aspects that deal with our life. But of course, in studio, as I said earlier when I introduced myself, I am joined by my co-host. We'll definitely say good morning to you, the viewer, my co-host.
Interesting, and Prudence are taking over the Thursday edition of the Camnet Breakfast Show by storm and making me a co-host. But I usually want this slot, and unfortunately it happens here. Yeah, but to just get started, on my perspective, quite an interesting analysis there from or perspective from Dr. Mufaya. Like we always say that you can equally recommend some of the topics you wanted to be discussed on this very program. And this program is also up for sponsorship or partnerships in case you want to partner with us. Also, in terms of supporting our doctor, you can do so and get in touch with our marketing department. And talking about the marketing department, let's go look at the marketing issues of the entire country, Prudence. We need to know how our kwacha is performing. Then we also look at that interesting story where we saw our currency, the fuel, behaving accordingly. It did not misbehave. We were expecting a rise in the pump price.
Fuel. Yes, of course, yesterday.
But
we were surprised. Like everyone was asking, what mechanism have been used to determine what fuel price can be? But in case you're wondering what we are talking about yesterday, the Energy Regulation Board did announce the fuel pump price for the month of June 2023, and we saw a reduction, Patrick Soko, I think for about by a 3/4 for petrol. But remember also petrol for last month, the month we've just ended in May, we saw it was constant from the way it was in April before May. So maybe I think, those measures, Patrick Soko, might have also been in effect when they took this decision, but we've seen a slight reduction of 3/4 on petrol, and then on diesel, I think we saw a slight movement also by about 2/4 in Samongwe. There's been a reduction, including in kerosene. So, and I saw something, I think the energy expert, Dr. Johnston Chikwanda, yesterday, Patrick did say something. He said the country will be able to save about $4,000 million US from this reduction just this month, which is good for the country. country.
Let's look at how the kwacha is performing. So now we start with the euro. The euro is buying at 20 kwacha 6.66 ingwe and selling at 21 kwacha 0.07 ingwe. The Greater British Pound is buying at 23 kwacha 0.98 ingwe and selling at 24 kwacha 0.45 ngwe. $1 is buying at 19 kwacha 0.34 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 0.73 ngwe. The South African rand is selling at 0.98 ngwe and selling rather to at 1 kwacha. 1 ngwe, and it's 1 kwacha rather. It is an interesting aspect of prudence that we are looking at the kwacha, like we were talking about it. It has been depreciating, but we had a good surprise from the ERB based on the international marketing arrangements, because there was a lot of shocks on the oil marketing arrangement, because so that has also translated into the reduction in fuel internationally. So that benefit has translated into us. Now we can imagine if our culture was at 15 or 16. Would have been
where can we go? That's why we need as a country to get to this debt restructuring process so that we can move on from there, because I know this has been a topical issue with the United Party for National Development has been using as an argument why some things have not been performing well in the economy. Remember, they are saying investors can't come into the country because there is uncertainty regarding the country's debt issue. And then the day before yesterday, we did see the Finance Minister Patrick Soko appeal to the creditors to say, in the next meeting that they'll be sitting, can you please have this issue dealt with once and for all? So I know the creditors are expected to be sitting soon. If they didn't even sit yesterday, they should be sitting any day from now. And June, we've waited for this period when the creditors will again call a meeting to determine Zambia's debt. So the finance minister made an appeal, and we hope our creditors, Patrick Soko, can come through, because once this issue is behind us, then we will judge the UPND administration based on their performance. Because everything they are saying now, Patrick Soko, is just based on the issue of debt. Debt, we can't do this because of debt, we can't do this because of debt. So we wish the creditors, as they sit to deliberate on these matters, and the government, we wish them all the best. Remember, Patrick Soko, when they fail, every one of us fails. When they succeed, every one of us succeeds.
Interesting, but the politicians usually tend to think otherwise, to say the demise of or the challenges of one administration are a bonus to them. But like you said, it affects the government fails, everyone else fails, because ultimately the challenges do not affect individuals, they affect the entire nation. And we are part of this country, hence we have to always be positive and optimistic and looking forward for good things to happen for our country. And talking about the issue of debt restructuring, we just hope that we'll get through this, because it has also affected various economic aspects, in that some of the projects cannot be undertaken for us to effectively move towards our vision to become a prosperous middle income nation by 2030. So these goals are also based on how we are managing this debt situation, how are we recovering. So it's quite an important process that we need to actually pay attention to and make sure that we go through as a country, because at the end of the day, every government, including the United States, borrows for development. But as you borrow, there's that aspect of sustainability. We understand that even the 2023 budget or the 2022 budget, there's a component under which government has to borrow. There's a threshold of borrowing there. There's also goodwill from the embassies or the development cooperation partners like the European Union, the USA. They also give us grants. Now, but this aspect of borrowing cannot be dealt with completely, because we see the government also borrowing even on the local market, also in the international market. So besides the old debt stock, the current government is also borrowing, and that debt stock is also increasing. I know the UPND, when we were talking to the finance minister, did allude to the fact that they have a debt sustainability plan, which they have put in place. They said, unlike the previous administration, us, we are forward thinking and we have a debt sustainability plan. Now, we have So now, even the debt sustainability plan which this government has may be affected by the previous debt, because if that debt is not being gotten rid of or finding a better mechanism, it means that even this debt acquisition will be affected.
Then also, so one thing that we should put into perspective is the fact that the debts that we currently owe other people, the over 45 creditors. Remember, we are owing over 45 creditors. When we say that, we mean you've borrowed money from 45 people.
Different
so as an individual, different people, they are about 45 or above that. So what is happening, Patrick? So one thing we should know is that from the 14 billion external debt that we owe, government is asking that 8 billion United States dollars should be erased, you know, where they say, okay, for the country's debt to be sustainable, this money that we owe, the 14 billion, to 8 billion. Then which is about 9, which is about again 7 billion. Yes, in that way, if we get to that, the debt levels in the country will be sustainable and will be able to pay back. So that is what government is asking for. Remember, the external debt is not the only debt that we have. We also have what we call internal debt. So if you mix external debt and internal debt, we have about 31 billion worth of debt. Yes, so we know the issue really has to do with the one that is external, which government is asking to say, okay, can you write it off, at least reduce it to this, and after that we'll be able to pay. So this has been one of the issues that has been dragging, because, you know, for someone to say, okay, we will finally do this, there is all that. Some countries, especially bilateral creditors, Patrick Soko, have argued to say, the money that we borrowed, even as in our country, it's money meant for old people. You know, that money which they reserve for these activities. So in order for it to make a profit, they lend it out to countries like Zambia, and then you pay back. So even them, they are saying, if over bilateral, the China is saying, if the bilateral creditors can forgive them, even as we are going, let them be the first one to show that. But anyway, we wish government all the best, even as they deliberate. Then also, Patrick Soko, something interesting is happening. Budget consultations have begun. Yesterday, the Minister of Finance, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, addressed the opening of budget consultation in Lusaka at the Mulongoshi Conference Center. So between yesterday and the 3rd of June 2023, government will be doing consultations about the budget at Mulongoshi Conference Center. So we have all stakeholders, non-governmental organizations, we have ministries, everyone has been invited to the table to go and make submissions. Please, let's take time as citizens to participate in these activities, because in the end, if you do not participate, the budget will not speak to you. And then also, after Lusaka, the Minister of Finance will be going in all the provinces in the country to do budget consultations. Can we please start tracking these issues? Can we get involved? Can we listen when the Ministry of Finance goes live? Let's be there to send our messages and contributions, because they may be listening to what is happening.
Interesting there. Let's get to look at some of the stories we are zooming in that we are making the headlines there, Prudence. What stories do you have?
Of course, Patrick Soko, we have a story where some Lusaka motorists appealed to government to curb the trade by all marketing companies of holding on to fuel when the fuel monthly review of pump price is approaching. Remember, we've had this tendency when we are going towards, you know, announcing, Patrick Soko, you will see there is shortage, artificial shortage in some filling stations, because they are expecting that when their price is increased, they'll make a profit out of the oil that they made. So that has been a trend. So the drivers have called for concrete measures to curb the vice. Meanwhile, all marketing companies, Association of Zambia, OMCA's president, Dr. Kafula Mubanga, says the Energy Regulation Board, ERB, must criminalize the act to ensure that those who do such face trial. Mr. Mubanga acknowledged that some oil marketing organizations tend to hold on to produce for price evaluation in order to gain from a potential fuel price hike, which he says is unfortunate. Let's zoom into that story that made headline in our news yesterday.
As the monthly review of the fuel pump price by the Energy Regulation Board is here to stay, some motorists in Lusaka are calling on government to help curb the trend by some oil marketing companies that hold on to their products when the monthly review draws near. They say the trend has affected the operations of their businesses.
If it was what month and kusira, then want one be fola. The parents come out to my businesses to my pango to Dalam. I don't mind just that, but my filling station will be fuel. So, take on going up savings. Government to tell and then they put my fuel. at least my filling station isinkhala mo trip and drama but fuel iliko
Pamene government ifuna kuchita afuko panga forups ma filling stations. You know vamvichitika ma filling station ija vakuti vakazi vati month end yafika vabisa ma stocks yacha so that palangane price increase kuti ili bwanji but we are moving from point A to point B fuel so ipezi because of amene behavior so tipempa government vasita bwanji paseko baje amene masenzana bemva jamangara mshiki bambo checking once filling station ngatopeza ati irangiza tilibe fuel stock na embe.
Meanwhile, Oil Marketing Companies Association of Zambia OMICA's president Dr. Kafula Muwanga says the Energy Regulation Board ERB needs to be on its feet and enforce the law. Dr. Muwanga proposes that ERB makes it a crime for any oil marketing company to run out of fuel within days of price adjustment.
But I think that this is purely the job of ERB to be able to come up with a policy that protects the consumers from this sort of abuse, because it is unnecessary, because the stock that you hold up or you buy within a particular timeline is intended to supply the market up to the change, the review of the prices that will occur at that particular time. Not necessarily that the OMCs will take advantage of these change of price by withholding stock. So if government puts up certain regulatory framework, which we think that this framework is already in place, but I think it's about an issue of reinforcing these things, because every license stipulates on how an OMC must be able to conduct.
And the Energy Regulation Board ERB has revised downwards the pump price for petrol, diesel and kerosene for the month of June 2023. ERB chairperson Reynolds Bower says the pump price reduction is as a result of a decline of prices on the international market.
Has adjusted downwards the pump price of petrol, diesel and kerosene. Petrol has been reduced by 3 kwacha 14 ingwe per litre, diesel by 2 kwacha 77 ingwe per litre, and kerosene by 73 ingwe per litre. Further, the ERB has also adjusted downwards the retail or posted airfield price of Jet A1 at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport and other low. The factors that caused the decline of oil prices include the concerns about a looming recession that affected the oil and gas market, fear of a banking meltdown following the collapse of some Western banks.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
There you have it. That was one of the stories that made headline in our news yesterday. So fuel companies have been advised to stop holding on while they wait for Energy Regulation Board to make an announcement. Then fuel pump price there has been reduced. We've seen petrol by 3 kwacha 14 ingwe, diesel there by 2 kwacha 77 ingwe, and kerosene by 0.74 ingwe. If I got that 73 ingwe, pardon me. So that was the pump price reduction for yesterday. That was one of the stories that made headline in our news. You too can be part of the conversation by calling us on the numbers that are on your screen, on our screen, pardon me, and of course on your screen, with regards to some of the stories that we are zooming in that made headlines in our news and how you feel they are going to affect you. Then also yesterday we did see important people in our economy. These are council workers, down tools. Remember, council workers are the ones that clean the market. If they say we are not working, imagine how that would be. Council workers are the ones that clean those public toilets. When you go per market, you have an emergency. When you rush into toilets, the council workers are the ones that do that. Council workers, among other things, also collect levies. So they do quite a number of things that even sometimes, Patrick, we feel disgusted, to do. Anyway, I don't know, you have...
Yeah, let's look at this story where the Lusaka City Council employees have protested over non-payment over 2 months of salaries, despite the local authority collecting levies on a daily basis. A Camnet TV news crew that visited the local authority offices Wednesday morning found that most employees are camped outside the premises waiting to be addressed by the relevant officials. Let's get to zoom in this story. We'll be back on the other side.
The gates have been closed and workers have downed tools. These are Lusaka City Council employees who have demanded that they will not work until they are paid their 2-month salary arrears owed to them by the local authority. Some of these spoken to have expressed disappointment at the fact that the local authority has on a daily basis been collecting levies from bus stations, market, public places, as well as public toilets, yet they are failing to pay them their salaries.
No any benefit in my life. So what I want is my money. But pass 2 months, not 1. Me, I want 2, not 1 month. No. I want to put in my children to go to complete education. Without education, no future, no good future.
My names. So please, to papata. But bamdala bakabwere pano ba HH baka peze pankana na chongo banigwira na mu maovalo peze funa kunimenya banimenya chifukwa chakuti nina njara nifuna na ndarama zanga nina ma rights
viti kuya vipopo but swati yanganira manyumba ni yabe naona ngatosa tinamanga tinatenga maloni kuloni swati pelekela mati za survive bwanja katipasa 1 month wajua yonse kunyumba timaenda socha bebana bana njala kuma school bana anabapisha bafuna ndarama but weve balingezi tama offices wa president tapapa tatabana bantu yanganire mponi wa council tavutika.
Others have also complained that they have been told to vacate their houses by the landlords due to non-payment of rentals, further stating that the authority has also not been remitting their NAPSA contribution, hence calling on Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema to intervene.
Situfola wanipisha na munyumba na katundu kalipanja. Vana bangala wasiya na njala nisebeza nicherera every day.
Members wise akabomba kabika munda. Kuti wabombori nsala honestly. I think bakateka baroleke chepo mwandini. They should revisit one background, which what is happening underground council.
Meanwhile, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Gary Nkombo, when contacted, had this to say.
The quick solution around it was to ensure that government pays Lusaka City Council the backlog of the money that government owes in rates. Okay? And so that I presented to the Secretary to the Treasury, who is considering that now. We are hopeful that we'll get an answer by tomorrow, after which we will make sure that the Lusaka City Council goes up to date. But that doesn't end the problem, because I deliberately started by telling you that 6 months ago we approved a lot for them to get, which means even after they receive this money in lieu of rates, after 2 months they may fall into the same pitfall. So we've embarked on an agenda to allow Lusaka City Council to revise all the outdoor advertising contracts, where we think those are low-hanging fruits that will allow them to get steady income.
For now, markets, bus stops, public toilet, among other public facilities in Lusaka remain unattended to, as these workers have vowed not to return for work until their matter is resolved. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV.
Welcome back. You are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, Thursday edition, Governance, Policy and Politics with me, Patrick Soko and Prudence Chota. We were zooming in one of the stories that was making the headlines in the Camnet main news. And that's an interesting story where council workers down the tools and protesting over unpaid salaries for 2 months. And they were saying it has affected them. You know, most of them are casual workers, but others, even at management level, are affected.
Everyone,
but those
management, including all the employees of the council.
But those ones, I'm interested in those particular ones because you know it's a hand-to-mouth kind of arrangement, and their salaries are not too huge if you compare to those who are at administration level. So now those are really affected. You could tell they told you all their stories. So
they did.
For me, my landlord
I've been told to vacate 2 months with not paid rent.
Yes.
But you know, Patrick Soko, I don't know what's happening. You know, the council was crying in the previous administration to say they were unable to collect enough levies because the bus stops were being run by cadres. But now the council have been given the mandate to be collecting money, and they are doing that. But how come they are not raising enough revenue to pay their employees?
You and I have to discuss that issue at length, but not today. But what I can tell you is that the council, because of its weaknesses, it's slowly giving up its power back to cadres.
An important discussion there. You know, others yesterday were asking the same question to say, you know, they've given us the bus stops and we can confirm that we are collecting money on a daily basis. Yes. But how come the local authorities today say they have no money to pay us? And the minister there, Gary Kombo, says, you know, when we came, we found a backlog of the debt that we owe the employees. So what we did is, we had to ask for a loan through these monies they are giving. They had to ask for a loan to pay that money, and they were hoping that now that they've started collecting money in bus stops, they'll be able to pay back that loan and make some revenue for continuous operation. But the minister there said it's unfortunate that after we just cleared that backlog, again we've gone for months without paying, but this does not address the issue. So it's suggested to say, you know, they are looking at also aspect of outdoor advertising. People are doing outdoor advertising and not paying what they are supposed to. So if we can target those ones, we can raise enough revenue. But you know, this, as of late, is a story for another day, which we need to find out what is happening. How much are they collecting just from maybe Lima Tower and Intercity? Because I think it's enough to pay most of those casual workers. And then we've got public toilets. You know, we've got council toilets. What is happening there? In markets, every day people go and use those toilets. And if you calculate how much they make out of that, it's enough to pay some of these casual workers working in there. So I think that's a topic for another discussion, but there you have it. They've down their tools and they've demanded that unless they are addressed, they will not get back to office. But the minister, of course, also said they've written to the Treasury asking for some resources there to settle their 2 months salary arrears. But also yesterday in the news, Patrick Soko, interestingly, we had new Congress party leader Peter Chanda who challenged government to explain how it awarded a contract for the construction of roads in New Kasama, including the road which passes through the community house without advertising for a tender. Speaking when he toured the roads Wednesday 31st May 2023, Mr. Chanda says roads could not have been constructed using constituency development funds and has wondered who is the contractor. Mr. Chanda has reminded the United Party for National Development, UPND, that while in opposition, it promised the people of Zambia of transparency and accountability, thus questioning the alleged illegality. So that was Mr. Peter Chanda yesterday, who was questioning these and other things. So let's zoom into that story that made headlines so that we understand what we are talking about, as we also allow our guest Patrick to just say it also. Let's zoom into that story that made headline in our news. These are newly constructed roads in part of Lusaka's Chalala area and in New Kasama near the community house of Zambia's president, Hakainde Hichilema. For many years, these roads remained dilapidated but have seen a facelift following the election of the United Party for National Development, UPND, into office. However, new Congress party leader Peter Chanda, who toured the roads Wednesday morning, has expressed disappointment at the fact that the Road Development Agency has never advertised a tender for the said roads and has wondered why this is the case. According to Mr. Chanda, the sum of constructing these roads is unknown, while the contractor who has been engaged is equally not known, which he says is tantamount to corruption, which the UPND administration has time and again condemned.
The road that has been done surrounding the area that surrounds community house, when was the tender advertised? When did the addendum come out from our road development agency? Lusaka City Council, when were the plans done to do this road up to that standard, where it is a standard of a highway road? My call to Lusaka City Council is that all these things that are happening now, somebody will be answerable for abuse of office. New Dawn administration, you promise a transparent government. We want to hear answers. Is this road done using Constituency Development Fund or what?
Additionally, this war fence and part of the property belonging to a well-known businessman and former associate of the previous head of state has been earmarked for demolition to pave way for the construction of the road. Mr. Chanda
is however disappointed that the contractor has left land marked for the road and has only targeted a property belonging to another person which illegally acquired.
There are threats to demolish a offense of a citizen who has owned the land for many years, and today they are alleging to say it is on the road side. My call to President Hakainde Hichilema: you promised the Zambian people that you run a transparent government. Now, this road that has been done here, when was it advertised? When were people called to bid for it? Who are the contractors for this road? Who are the engineers for this road? When was the plan made to have this road upgraded? We have seen from the entire area, coming from Charara area up to this to Lake Road.
Some of the contractors who were on the site vanished upon seeing cameras. Meanwhile, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, when contacted, says the tender for the project was advertised and has asked those doubting to visit the offices to get more information.
I think that is malicious and that is not true, because everything we do at the ministry is done within the provisions of the law and is guided by the law. And if there are any stakeholders that would like to know how much has been spent or is being spent, how much we are being charged per kilometer for the Lusaka roads, such stakeholders are free to come to the office and we will be able to avail to them the information that they need, as opposed to them making allegations that we do not follow the tender procedure and that the constructors are not known. I think that is not how we should proceed.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
There you have it. That was New Congress Party leader Peter Chanda. They are questioning when the contract, and of course when the contractor was engaged, when did RDA release the addendum to have those roads done to the standard where they are. He says the UPND administration promised transparency in their administration, but what is transparency if we can't even see tenders being floated there for people to bid? And of course there we've seen the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Local Government, Mr. Nicholas Piri, who responded and saying we had put out an advert there, but if anyone has concerns they can visit the offices to get more information. So I do hope Mr. Chanda will visit the offices to prove that indeed the contract there was advertised as per word from the permanent secretary. But something interesting there to make a follow-up, because he brought out a number of concerns, but of course we did see government equally defend itself. So talking about the UPND administration being transparent in the way they do things, and of course in offering checks and balances, as we usually do in studio today. Patrick Soko, we are joined.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we have been joined by Chachacha president. He is Mr. Eric Chanda. Is not new in the political scene. He has been through his own political party. He has worked with other major political parties in the country. And this morning he has to help us discuss current affairs happening in the country. Mr. Chanda, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soko. And thank you very much, Madam. What's
with the cross? I can see. We usually see when we're watching Nigerian movies and you go to where there is a sangoma, we usually see crosses there and stuff like that. So when I saw the cross, I'm like, okay, is this religion or is it that we're created about to work? So what's with the cross?
This cross, basically, this is the symbol of our political party called Chachacha. It is a symbol that reflects our leadership in Chachacha, because we believe in sacrificial leadership, and sacrificial leadership can only be found on the cross. That is why you see us with the cross. The Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and we want to be in the forefront to preach those wise words for leadership in this country.
Wisdom. Why Chachacha? Why the name Chachacha?
Well, that is a good question. I may also challenge you. Did you want to call our party Prudence Chota?
No, you can't quiet, of course, after me. That's why we want to know cha-cha-cha. What's the origin of cha-cha-cha? You know, it would be good for the party.
Yeah. No, cha-cha-cha is simply a revolutionary name, basically meaning light. For those of our forefathers who were there during the struggle for independence, they know the beginning of cha-cha-cha. We wanted something indigenous for the Zambian people because we are too much. You know, our colleagues in Tanzania, they have what they call Chama Pindus. That has been a political party that has been ruling in Tanzania since 1964-63 from there. Up to now, it is still the ruling political party. Now, here in Zambia and other African states, we believe in these foreign names, economic chakuti, united what, but at the end of the day, they have no meaning. So we thought of a revolutionary indigenous name that will bring full change to the Zambian people.
But what are you bringing on the table in terms of a political scene? What is the political party's philosophy and ideology of the Cha-Cha-Cha party?
Well, the ideology of Cha-Cha-Cha is very simple and straightforward. We believe in ourselves as a Zambian people. You will agree with me that crisis breeds ideas. When you are in a crisis, then you will sit down and say, what will I do to resolve this crisis? Zambia as a country has been in various crises since 1964, from one after another. We sat down. We have, you know, Dr. Kaunda thought of African socialism together with the Kwame Nkrumahs and all those people.
Yes.
They brought what they called African socialism, African nationalism, whatever they called them. We tried that, we saw its challenges, we moved on. In 1991, MMD brought about capitalism. We saw what it did to us as a Zambian people. It brought structural adjustment programs. A lot of people lost jobs, total sufferings to the people, and a lot of people died. We moved on. We came to PF. We are now in UPND. We are facing the same challenges. So the crisis that we are going through as a country, for instance, in the mining sector, where even a foreign nationality from India has to put our economy onto the standstill, the mining sector, it's not functional because we cannot operate to full capacity when we have been taken to the courts of law in another country, in South Africa. A sovereign state like Zambia, we call ourselves an independent country. We said, that is not right. We call ourselves a sovereign state, and everything that we do in our country must be for the Zambian people. And we developed the ideology which we call the radical 50-50.
Radical 50.
Yes.
So what do we have to achieve with radical 50-50?
Number one, we are saying the Zambian people must have a say in the administration of our economy. We don't want to see things that are happening on the copper belt, whether where you pack the full economy, backed by a foreign national, an Indian. It shows us that we are still being colonized by an Indian company called Vendetta. It is still colonizing us. Because if it wasn't colonizing us, we could have made decisions and move on as a country economically. So, if we were cha-cha-cha with the radical 50-50 economic plan, we are saying the administration of the mines will never be in the hands of foreign nationals or foreign companies. It will be in the hands of the Zambian people. We are going to administer those mines ourselves.
Interesting.
Secondly, we are saying we have a lot of challenges in terms of job creation. So under the radical 50-50, there is a a sub-ideology, which we are saying agrarian revolution. This is going to help us create jobs. It is an engine to create wealth for this country. And our agrarian revolution will be spearheaded by the Zambia Army, the Zambia Air Force, the Zambia National Service, and the Zambia Correctional Services. These will be at the center of the agrarian revolution. So we are saying we are going to create over 1 million jobs under agrarian revolution. It doesn't matter, Vasoko, Prudence, whether you have gone to school or not. Agrarian revolution will not matter. You have a job under Zambia Army, under Zambia Air Force, under Zambia National Service, under Zambia Correctional Service. Because we are going to train you how to operate a tractor. We are going to train you how to operate a combine harvester. We are going to train you how to spread the fertilizer in the farms, how to spread chemicals. We are going to do that. So whether you have been to school, I don't need a degree holder to train him how to operate a tractor. Most of the people operating these tractors in various farms run by foreign nationals, they are Zambians who has not even been to school, and they are doing the successful job. Now, the challenge we have with this government, it throws away our people that yo imweta mwasambilira. So if tamwasambilira takuri nchito. That if ever that crisis, that challenge, we have a solution, and the solution is under agrarian revolution. If ever ubungo bule shorter, amataba shortages, there is a solution under the agrarian revolution.
Before you come to that, I know you have a point on that. You've talked about the issue of training people now to operate a tractor, but training someone how to operate a tractor does not mean you've offered them a job. If you train someone, for example, how to handle an equipment, does not mean you've given them a job.
Nah. You missed the point, Madam Prudence. The point is we are going to employ them under Zambia Army, under Zambia Air Force. They are even going to undergo full military training, but they are going to get that job to operate into farms that we are going to say, what we plan is taking Zambia Army. Bwana Zambia Army, here you are. If it's maize, let me just take for instance maize, which is the biggest challenge that we have in our country. Zambia Army are going to give us 1 million metric tons of maize in this year. Zambia Air Force 1 million metric tons. ZNS 1 million metric tons. Zambia Correctional Service 1 million metric tons. So they need workforce to produce those things. We are going, it boggles my mind when I see 20,000 hectares of land we want to give to our neighbors, the Kenyan people. Why can't we take it to these defense forces, tear the land, produce that food which is needed, employ our people, and then say, can we export and sell to those Kenyan people? By that, we even make more money. So to answer your question, we are employing them under Zambia Army, and they undergo full military training, and then under that training, we shall train them how to operate all those things and put them into the farms.
Interesting. Now, let's get to the current affairs, Mr. Achanda. The country, we start on a religious affair. You are a religious man as well. We have been treated to an interesting story where the Catholic Church, two Catholic Church priests have been providing what they call checks and balances, and they were actually making reference to the utilization of graphs by President Hakainde Hichilema during one of his press conferences to say, as opposed to illustrating graphs, you should provide food. People in Mrs. in Chawama, they are interested more with food because that's what matters, the cost of living. Now, this statement has not been received well, especially by the UPND officials. And even President Hichilema himself has come out strongly criticizing the church for those remarks. Do you think, what would be your perspective on this subject, Mr. Chanda? Do you think the priests crossed the boundary in giving their perspective based on the issues pertaining to those graphs?
Iri ashimwareta basoko ine nali ntolesha ompambo ukulu muno kyalo ewo nkyatalamu napo tabu. But I'm not surprised because during their campaigns they used to despise all Christian activities. You remember the National Day of Prayer, it was criticized, it was called a useless day by their boss. Okay? So I am not surprised. Pakutolo mpamba uwakwevati baima valatuka abantu bakwalesa. That shows to me that we still have antichrist in this world. People who don't believe in Christianity, we still have them. And this government, to me, have no kind words for them. They are antichrists. Because you cannot go to insult men and women of God. An insult to you, Patrick, as a Christian, is an insult to me. They have insulted all pastors in this world, all reverends, all Catholic priests. Everybody has been insulted. Imagine, prudence. You go, your father says, you should change the way you dress. Then you hail insults at your father. That means you have insulted all the parents who have that thinking. So to me, these people are antichrist, and we don't need antichrist to run the affairs of this country, to be in the governance of this country. They have to go sooner than later, because Zambia is a Christian nation. Well and good, even if I had to say something that did not occur well, I am a president today. I will not go onto the pulpit, call a man of God a joker. Well, I remember Dr. Kaunda, at least he chose a word. He told us that Vakatolika mukendera pali corona. That was a better word than calling a priest a joker. What I could have done as a president myself, I will call the priest. I have all the machinery to say, can you go and call the priest? He comes to State House or to Community House. We have coffee. My father, what wrong have I committed? Oh, mune nifinefi wachita. What should I do? Iyo mune kwa misisi. Varefwaya uvunga buwele fide wala ile pa 50 kwacha. Buwele pa 50 kwacha. Not if you watch that with my GDP. Has those things gone down to the Zambian people? No. The answer is no. If he was to bring graphs, he could have done himself a favor by bringing a graph to say, ubunga na busangiri hapa, na bufika hapa. So, if ever UPND, not uwesho ubunga. We are doing well. The dollar, we found it at 17, if ever at 16, 17, if ever UPND, not uwesha dollar. Ili pa 12, pa 10, or pa 9, or pa 12. That is a graph we expected. The cost of living, that is a graph we expected. But to start, I'm a GDP. Who understands those things? It's not everybody. Those are boardroom politics. What I may call boardroom politics. When people, so you are a president, give you information for you to use as a president in your decision making, you sit down, analyze, oh, this is where we are. Which direction do we head? That is the best way of resolving issues. You don't go onto a rally also to start castigating men of God. No. I think we are running out of wisdom in our leaders. That I have no apology to state. Because wisdom is so important. Even great men of God in the Bible, they sought wisdom first for them to superintend over their people. But in the lack of wisdom, where I have seen the party calling, hey, Jehovah God, Lucifer, ufile church kama na kumutima pakuita, nangani sorry to use the pastor Chiluba, paku vatu cancel, pastor Chiluba ni varuso, chifile first child, na chit kama na kumutima. Why you first? If I call a man of God like this, is it right? Am I in the right frame of mind? That is China case. Next question.
Mr. Chachacha, I know the United Party for National Development, in most of the meetings they've had, have argued to say the reason why things are not progressing is because we have this debt burden, a very huge debt burden that is on our shoulders. So everything we try to do, we are being squeezed by this very huge burden that we are carrying on our head. As a political party, Cha-Cha-Cha, how do you intend, if you come into office in 2026, to deal with the issue of debt?
First of all, I will not blame the UPND to say they have left this problem. I will straight away go and find solutions.
Give us the solutions
to resolve that problem. To start with, there is no country under this soil which has no credit. Even America, a few years ago, it borrowed $3 trillion from the Chinese people. They paid back. Here we are crying, no, we have got debt, we have got debt. What solution are you putting in place to pay back that debt? Yes, debt restructuring, we accept it should be there. But are you giving those people the roadmap, how we are going to raise the money to pay back that debt? That's the first question that we should ask ourselves. This question does not have an answer with the UPND. If ever Cha-Cha-Cha, we are saying, even if you go and get 1.6 billion from IMF, it's not free money of Prudence. You have to pay it back at some point. Go on the ground. Back on boardroom, graph. Sit and say, okay, what is the graph on debt? Where are we going to get money from and pay? It does not make any sense for Prudence for somebody who has got God under the soil here, Watuma Bakapokola in Northwestern Province, Kasenseri Gold Mine, you send the police officers to say, can you start guarding this? God, Prudence. Does it make sense to you? It absolutely doesn't make sense. What we need to do as a country, we have got God under there. Dig the God, sell it, pay back the debt. It's as simple as that. Why are we securing that place? For what? For how long are we going to do it?
We are waiting for foreign direct investment.
Foreign direct investment is not a solution in this country. Most of them will come with conditions. And those conditions will never be favorable to the Zambian people. That is why we have brought in radical 50-50. If we today employ, I like using the men and women in uniform, the Zambia army, the soldiers, the ZAF, and the like, because they are disciplined. Employ geologists under those people. Take them, push them into Kasenseri mine. We don't need a lot of money, a lot of machinery. Look at our people who dig that gold under the ground. What machinery do they have? They use artisan. We can use the same method as we look for capital. They dig, we sell. When we sell, we pay our debt. But now, waiting for a foreign investor. Look at what Vendetta did to us. Vendetta came to the late Mwanawasa. He negotiated $28 million to buy our mines on the copper belt. Mwanawasa said, okay, fine, because my people don't have jobs. Take it. He gave it to him. Now, today, what does he do? He doesn't have that money to pay. He went, he didn't even have a shovel, he didn't even have a pick. He went to Brazil, picked U&M mining, subcontracted them, told them start digging. He dug our copper. After digging our copper, he sold our copper. Him is just a marketer. He's not playing any role. He sold our copper. After selling our copper, he even paid us our 28 million. What money did he have? Nothing. This is where I am saying waiting for foreign direct investment is a waste of time. Let us use our brains. These people have come to this country. They have opened our brains to say, oh, so we can find somebody to contract and start digging copper. we sell copper, then we pay the director. They have we pay them, those people, the contractors. We have learned those ideas. Why can't we apply them? Why should we always wait for that? If we are saying radical 50-50 economic plan is the way to go for Zambia. Nothing else, nothing less. If they have a foreign direct investment, it will not resolve any problem. How much are we going to make from there? Our friends in Botswana, is it last week? The president said, no, we are not getting anything from the diamonds. Those people are getting $15 billion in a year. We must have a share. That is the leadership we need. In Congo, the president was in China to renegotiate the contracts, the mining contracts with the Chinese people. Because now, no. What is happening is not right. We need to ensure that we get the maximum benefits from what God gave us under the soil. If we radical 50-50, the Zambian people must get hold of their own economy, and it should not be run by any other foreign nation. Because this is now where we are. On the copper belt, we are failing to make decisions because we are tied up by those foreign. And we are telling these people, make radical decisions, go to parliament. If there are any laws which are really standing on our way, out. Declare them now and void. Put the laws that will ensure that the Zambian people can now move. But now our friends, they are just dozing. 2 years down the line, in fact, not 2 years, from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, this is 2023, more than 4 years, the mine is dumped like that. We are not accepting that as Chachacha. We are saying this is our country and we have to make radical decisions to ensure that we revolutionize our economy and move forward.
What sort of legislations or laws need to be put in place, especially on mining governance, that would you recommend? For instance,
radical 50-50 is saying no foreign national, no foreign company is going to be given ownership to the mines. If we are saying the Zambian people are going to be the owners of the mines, those so-called investors who come as contractors, bakesa fema contractor, kubera fatimbeni kopa, vaimba, vafumya kopa tuashtisha. Once we sell, then we are saying, yes, we have sold our copper, na imaba contractor mweve shile, in form of investors, here is your share. Ndaramanashisa Bank of Zambia, and that way, it will even stabilize our economy. Because the money will be coming direct into the Bank of Zambia. Not if vena vachita, nga vachicha kopenda rama fesi cha ku India. Elo nga cha ku India vena bafunyamo fenga niko Australia cha efo finero bafunyamo fyo twa salaries. Elo batuma ku Zambia. I mean, that is the highest form of economic sabotage. So if we are saying in this administration of the mines will belong to the Zambian people, these investors will only come as contractors.
As Chachacha, a revolutionary political party, do you have a perspective on what is going on surrounding, for instance, mining activities in the Lower Zambezi? There has been concern from citizens to say, how do you take a mine in the Lower Zambezi, and especially that it has been an animal habitat, and that if you bring a mine in the middle of that area, it may also spur issues pertaining to human-animal conflict and also undermine tourism. But as a political party, are you for mining or are you for what would be your perspective on that?
Our economy is stressed, and we need money more than yesterday. We need money to resolve, to pay the Constituency Development Fund people, to pay for education, to pay our civil servants. You know, if we don't resolve the sources of money today, these our so-called civil servants, they will not have payments in the near future because we will have nowhere to get money. So we are saying we have to weigh what is more important, making money for the country or keeping animals? Are those animals bringing any money to the economy of this country? Those animals can always be shifted somewhere else. So we are saying, let us sit. What we are against is giving the foreign nationals those same mining rights under that soil. Let us get it as Zambian people. Those foreign nationals who are coming, we tell them we are just contractors, dig the copper, give us the bill, we sell the copper, we pay them. So really, our economy is in distress. It is stressed. We need to make sure that we get whatever we can get under the soil to pay off our debt and move on. We will not pay our debt from keeping animals. Sorry to use this word. Yes, we need animals, but we will keep them somewhere else.
What are your plans in the agriculture sector? I know you did mention a little bit about it when you talked about, you know, the issue of employing people under ZNS, but you need a plan. Let's see, under the Radical 50-50, what plans are
Agrarian revolution is the only way to go, spearheaded by the defense forces. Disciplined people, when we give them targets, they will achieve.
Won't you kill small-scale farmers when you do that?
It
and
will not kill. It will not kill
them.
them, because small-scale farmers, they will have a job.
Mr. Chacha, let me just hold you. Let's pick up this call first. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Fine, thank you. You're through to Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Tell us your name, where you're calling us from. You can go ahead with your question, your contribution, or your comment.
Okay, my name is Jonas. I'm calling from Ufulira.
Mr. Jonas from Ufulira, please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. Now, I've got to tell you,
Thank you so much, Mr. Jonas from Ufulira. Mr. Jonas from Ufulira, actually, Mr. Eric Chanda is saying, or rather impressed with the fact that you're here to offer solutions rather than just criticizing and criticizing. Though, on his part, on the father, he says, you know, when you're preaching in church, the message really should be centered on building people and not messages that entice. But anyway, I know you've spoken to that.
My brother, what's his name?
Mr. Jonas.
But Jonas, preaching the word of God is ensuring that you provide hope to the people, to your flock. Now, honestly, if you say we need this government to look at the issue of meal, are you dividing your flock? You are only requesting on behalf of your people. You know, the priests, they go down. You were Prudence, I'm sure you are a Christian. You go down to preach the word of God house to house. You get the problems, the challenges that the people are facing. Now, if you come into the church and say, Mwebuteko, twafuenikwala omunde pitana abantu echo balelila wunga budamu abala ile pa 50 kwacha, what is wrong with that?
What of the priest? If maybe the priest, at first you did mention the fact that, you know, the government could have caught the priest, but in the other way, why can't it be opposite, where when the priest notices a challenge, instead of going in church and, you know, just screaming it out, why not seek audience with the head of state and give them those ideas?
In Chito, it's on the pulpit. It's not in the boardroom. The people who believe in the boardroom are those governing us. They should call us. Okay, I am here talking. If they don't want to call me and hear my alternative to the governance of this country? Is it my fault? Am I going to be blamed if I tell them they have failed? No, I will not be blamed. So when you hear some ideologies, swallow your pride as a leader. You must be able to take what comes on your way. Because it's not only good things that you'll be taught. There are things that you are going to be taught which are bad. You have seen the insults that goes on the social media, insulting everything. But that we are saying we are ready to take it. I don't mind. I have told my colleagues to say, even if we are insulted, what we are doing is provide our intelligent solutions to the Zambian people. And that is what we are doing. If the people in governance want to pick them up, let them pick them up. The budget is there, it will be presented soon. Let them allocate a lot of money to the Ministry of Defense so that they can start up this project.
You were even responding to that. They start up this project. Once they kill small-scale farmers in the country,
they will not, you know what we have done, small-scale farmers will be there to supply these milling farmers, the milling companies that we have. They will do their own agriculture as usual. They supply these milling companies.
How much
because
are you going to be buying this produce? Because
what
you have a lot of production, also the price matters. So when you have this huge production and then you have this small-scale farming,
this is now where we are saying we are bringing competition into this market. And when we bring competition into this market, we are going to see the price of milling go down. By the way, to tell you the fact, there is a pilot project that has gone on. Look at how much ZNS is Ganaba parking FMA track if you have been to Baulen, if you have been to Chainda. Now parking, how much are they selling milling? People are lining up because the milling is cheap. That is a pilot program. Let me just...
we have a caller, sorry. Hello, good morning. Hello?
Hello?
Good morning, you're through to Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Please tell us your name, where you're calling us from, then you can go ahead with your submission.
Hey, I'm going to have a look at him.
It's good to know Kaoma this morning is tuned in. Mr. Kelvin Chisara, please go ahead.
Number 2, then police to go not so very popular, not so hard. So the government and the stuff she was mine. Now, if you have to get a public touch, not all the window.
Kelvin Chisara from Kaoma. It's good to know Kaoma is tuned in this morning and listening to the breakfast show. Before you were cut, you were making a submission.
Yes. So we are saying those small-scale farmers, when they grow their own fields, they will supply to those milling companies, and they will bring competition. Okay. Now, if ever we have made one policy that we shall not allow any of these milling companies to export our milling, to export our maize to any other country. Their job is to produce milling for the people of Zambia and flood the market so that the price can go down. And if they want to go and sell milling, they want to sell maize to Congo, bakayepanga efigayo ku Congo. Ifigayo efyapangwa muno Zambia, it's there to feed the Zambian people. Abakasuminisha to export those things are the defense forces, the Zambia Army, the Zambia National Service, the Zambia Correctional Service, and the Zambia Air Force. Those are the people who are going to be exporting our milling from this country, because they are going to run milling companies also. That's where that's why we are saying our massive employment, even in those milling companies, we are going to employ these people from technical schools and the like. It's not only 30,000 teachers who need jobs in this country. There are those people from technical schools who are craft certificates, craft mechanics, and all those people. We are providing them with jobs in those milling companies. Now, so if those defense forces, they export, what will happen? The money will come into the Bank of Zambia and it will create economic stability. But for those milling companies, do you know what happens? They go to the border there, border, ekobaya. They sell, they exchange, dollars, they put in their pockets. That money is never captured in our economy. This is why we are in this mess. We suffer now, our milling goes. Our dollars cannot reflect in our economy. Why should I allow them to be exporting? We are saying they will never export. We are sorry. But our defense forces will be exporting money into the Bank of Zambia.
Absorb them? Because I know government cannot absorb everyone. That's why some.
We are absorbing them under the agrarian revolution. That is why we are employing massively under defense, under Zambia Army, under Zambia Air Force. That's why we are employing a lot of them. It's not only maize. Look at Kabwe, the Mulungushi textiles. It has stayed there for years and years. No solution. We are isalanda kwefi, we are isa yo inenke sa isuland. If ever cha to let twati. Chindwin barracks. Mwadi yako kukawa. Kwa adiba chindwin barrack. Neba fepadi. We will tell them, imaba chindwin barrack. Tampenyu kulima cotton. Nga mwadima cotton. Iyo cotton, you also operate Mulungushi textiles. They go under Zambia Army. They will start operating. Machinery is there. The buildings are there. What is the problem? The problem is where to start from. These people, they don't know where to start from. If we're not we are saying that we shall give to the Zambian people to run it. And once they run it, we are going to help them with some policies. No political party shall employ Chitenge, T-shirt, Utusote. We have to go and support our Zambia Army from Mulungushi, China textiles. That is what we are saying. All uniforms will be manufactured there. But at the moment we are importing all those things. Does it make sense? And you know, this brings me to the cotton farmers. They are in Eastern Province, they are complaining. They have given them 6 kwacha per kg. Honestly, last year, when fertilizer was cheap, it was 6 kwacha. This year, fertilizers went up, still 6 kwacha. This is what we are saying. If ever tukutulila masukupa mutwe, muchalo echesu, echo tulekana. Ngamwaisa mweba nensu mkurani ama companies. It's not that you should use the Zambian people and ensure that mwatulila masukupa mutwe. If we're not tukana. Ngamwaisa ensure that you work for the better of the Zambian people. So today, can you think again? Give our people a better price so that we know that our people now can also again in the next season produce more cotton. But as things stand now, it is a very big disadvantage to our people who grow cotton.
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, you are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, and in our interview today, we have the Chachacha President, Comrade Eric Chanda. He is giving his perspective and alternative policies to the government. In case you want to join us, you can still do so by giving us that call, as well as text us on our social media platforms. We are streaming live this program on Facebook as well as YouTube. We pick this call before we get to another question. You are through to the Camnet Breakfast Show. Good morning. I'm quite my bomba shan.
I'm quite.
Today I'm gonna vanan.
Yeah, my name is
Wa Emily.
Let me have moved here.
Kumufulila.
Yes, quite.
Okay.
Bamfurira nishini mwe bomfasana na Camnet twatotela keep it up.
Kuti mwakonkanyapo.
Enkwaye. Therefore, kulamba kupali kiranga ba atwaye kyanda. Enkwaye. Kwenanga twalikwete ko abantu abanga bayandi dalo kyekuna kiri ekiri. Ni babo ngatana bali basatana abantu atatawo. Kuru bali bama mai mwana mukira bali bamo bali. Batakule bati kwali mai. Abali neke babomba ko kuti nakira boleke ko womba. Lelonga twalikwete kwa wanga batatawo bali bawo teko. Awe chawo chesira matani. Ngopi nabachilando kwisha abazambe amena bambe abachibalugu ababantu bali bachifu tubabo chobwino sana amabala basibena takwa banesi na corruption so kuti kwa batungirira kwa flash kwende kuti yaliyo ko ni pali beni
Twatotela mkwai mwebe kona baneba mwebe kona banebo kweba tichachacha ebwa suko pamusalaba epaliansa.
Thank you so much, Madam Emily Mupeta there from Mufulira on the Copper Belt. It's like Mr. Chachacha, you've become popular this morning with your
Well, Mwamona, if we believe in 4 pillars in our political party, and the first pillar is truthfulness. Because ama politics yabu fimunomcharo cheswichazanda na ya chilamo mwebantu bakwale sa Jehovah God twafueni. Because you know, lies have got short legs and they will never be there to stay. So we believe in truthfulness. Tell the people the truth, then you will have the support of the Zambian people. You tell them what is feasible, practical solutions, because what we are talking about are practical solutions, not a blagado unga ukesa pa 50 kwacha. Kwatite mweba economist ba prudence. Mweba ntu bakwalesa ifwecho tulela ndapo tuiminine pali buchinka. 1, 2, we believe in patriotism. Echo mumwenene ama mind tulefa tuyekate so because Zambia is the only country that we have. Zambia kina hayaluna. Zambia kialokie su. Zambia jisijesu. Zambia zikolatu. Zambia ichalo chesu. And this is the only country that we have. If we don't get hold of our economy, then we will never go anywhere.
Others have argued that government has no business doing business in the case of the UPND administration.
Bane, running a chalo, not running a farm, running a business. They are 2 different things. Running a chalo, you run it as a business, you have no business. That is a capitalistic mind that will plunge the Zambian people into chaos, back to slavery. If we are saying no to it. We got independent and we have to ensure that we move forward as per our independent clause. Not today. You know, back Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe warned us way back that if we are not careful, investors will come in the form of investors, but they will be colonizers. And this is what we are seeing from Vendetta. They are colonizing us. This is what we are seeing from IMF, the multinational institutions of this world. They are here. They give us, honestly, they give us conditions on how we are going to run the country. Where is our independence? Just because of the 1.6 billion which we can make from the gold mining in Kasensed. We are saying Zambia must be economically free. We empower ourselves, we work very hard and ensure that we take this country forward. No foreign national, no foreign investor will develop this country unless ourselves.
Your concluding remarks, Mr. President.
My concluding remarks is the Zambian people, you have an option. And the option you have ni Pam Salaba. Pam Salaba tapa ababu fi. ubu fibale tubepo bwakwe bati fertilizer ikabwera pa 250 obunga pa 50 abragada dola ikesa bwera panshinga na aba 10 hours ifwa papa msalaba. There are no lies. Pa abafe buchinka. Believe in cha-cha-cha. What we are telling you are practical examples that we are going to achieve. But cha-cha-cha, tuishire mkuteke chalo, tatuishire ku business like our friends have come. We want to ensure that this country can be in the hands of the Zambian people, move forward and get what we can get out of it. Come 2026, we are asking you, the Zambian people, vote cha-cha-cha. Vote on this cross. The cross is the only answer. Pam salava, epa the answer. Come 2026, Pam salava.
Cha-cha-cha President Mr. Eric Chanda was our guest in studio this morning, and we're discussing current affairs. He has spoken to a number of things. We would have loved the conversation to go on and on, but time is not on our side, and this is where we have to wrap up the program and say bye-bye. But remember, also tomorrow you're joining us from 07 to 09 hours, where we also expect another guest where we will be discussing these important matters. And also stakeholders, the government here, Mr. Cha-cha-cha, seems to have some of the solutions. I think the president in the last meeting says those who have solutions can give us those so that we implement them. I'm sure
we have given them.
I'm sure they are listening.
If they want more, my home is very open. They can come. I will open the doors for them.
Of course,
interesting. News there. This is where we have to call it a day. Remember, on Camnet TV, we respect divergent views, and we value your support and contribution as always. Our dear viewers, for getting in touch on the Camnet Breakfast Show, we do not take that for granted, and we'll continue to serve you. You can equally suggest on the guests you would want to see on the platform. You can equally leave us that message in case of recommendations. This is where we have to call it a day. Remember to always keep it on Camnet, because Camnet TV
is not
just another channel.